This was from New York Magazine, if you want a little bit of a laugh.
Look at the subtext, the subhead.
Yes, lesbian space witches. Y'all think we're lying about this. Even New York...
Exclamation point. I mean, it doesn't get more snarky than that.
No, it doesn't. And if you don't have to read everything in here because it's too long. You just have to read some of the subtitles and the subheadlines in here. Maybe space witches are actually cool. Except they're not in Star Wars.
They're like, look, Firefly did Space Cowboy. People like that. Maybe space witches can work. Sorry, I don't think it will.
Yeah. Now, they talk about here, the series introduces a sect of female Force users, one of whom is played by Jodie Turner-Smith. That is the African-American woman with the shaved head. Y'all saw we played the clip of her at the Star Wars celebration last year, talking about my character is a very powerful female Force user. And then you hear, woo, in the audience. She's like, yes, yes. That's Jodie Turner-Smith. She is going to be the leader of this lesbian space witch coven, as New York Magazine points out. And they make babies without men. You don't need men in Star Wars anymore. Is what this series is. If there's one message to take away from this, and some people out there think, oh, you're just being hyperbolic. Oh, you're being an istinophobe. No, believe what they tell you. Look at all the press junkets. Look at all the interviews they've done. Look at how this show has been promoted and talked about for the last 3 years since it's been discussed. They are trying to run the last of the men out of Star Wars. That's the end of it. And people are telling me, oh, there was a white male in there. There was 2 of them. I'm like, you mean the idiot that just... OSHA walks in and says, you made me upset. I'd like you to drink this poison and kill yourself. And he does. That's how Master Torben dies. It was the stupidest thing. There was no setup.
You don't spend any time with the character to actually make something like that meaningful. And yes, there is loath as I am to notice that type of stuff. I think it was 19 minutes into the show when there was the buffoonish prisoners. That was the first time you saw them.
Yeah, and that was the other thing, that everything was a plot contrivance and a convenience. I mean, everything was too easy. Every moment they could have set up, and this is why the writing was bad, apart from the dialogue being terrible. The first line of this show is the Amanda Stenberg May, the evil twin, walking in to another cantina. Surprise, another bar room in a Star Wars show on a sandy planet. Like, they cannot figure out anything different. She walks in, she walks up to Master Indara, who's played by Carrie-Anne Moss from The Matrix, Trinity, and she's sitting at the table. She walks up to her and she says, "We have unfinished business. Attack me with all your strength." I'm like, that's the first line of the show. Like, people would make jokes about how bad George Lucas was at writing dialogue. This was straight awful. This wasn't even campy. This was just stupid. Maybe all that backstory isn't actually necessary. Yeah, this is pretty much everything going on nowadays at Disney. There's no writing, there's no backstory. Here's my favorite. Maybe the Jedi are actually fascists? You see what's going on here, folks, right? You see, this is, and they're not alone in this. Maybe capable protagonists who aren't white men are actually not a big deal. Okay, they're not a big deal.
But they're also not, the ones that you guys are describing are not capable.
No, they're not. And the thing is and this is the problem they seem to skip over, is that the reason that people are upset is because we know how Disney hires and casts these days. Everything goes through the Stories Matter group or the Reimagine Tomorrow group, where just like the lady that we played from Amazon, the head of DEI at Amazon, she's on stage at CES this year in Vegas talking about how her department, she's involved from the casting point of every show that goes on Amazon, to make sure that this is represented and that's represented. This is not an organic thing of creative writing. This is an actual social political directive. This is what's getting people irked. because it's not that you're not using white characters, it's why the shows are being built to begin with, and people just kind of feel like, yeah, we know what you're doing here. You're window dressing. And the biggest thing, of course, is, well, the two white guys, Han and Luke, that were there to begin with, that Star Wars were built around, you tried to build your own brand of Star Wars at Disney by just absolutely crapping on those two characters and tearing them apart and turning them into losers in the movies.
Well, it's because this is doing exactly what they did then, which is that everything becomes about deconstruction, right? They're deconstructing the characters, they're deconstructing the stories. And the moment you start doing that, the people that actually care about these franchises will not buy it. They don't want that. And look, there's things that could have been done to at least fix some of the, you can't fix the bad storytelling. You can't fix the flat cinematography because it's already been shot. But like, if you can't fix all of that, you could have hired actresses or actors that actually managed to embody these characters. There's an actress named DeWanda Wise who could have very easily done the Osha and the May roles and given you an infinitely more magnetic performance and brought some life to that dialogue. Yeah. And they're never going to do that. They're never going to do that because they're looking people who fit into a certain ideological mold.
Leslie Headland is, from everything that I've seen that she has talked about and that Amanda Stenberg has talked about, I think one of the big reasons, whether she'd admit it or not, I don't think she has to. I think she's all but said it in so many words. I think one of the big reasons that Leslie Headland really wanted Amanda Stenberg is because Amanda Stenberg was part of that group that identifies as, you know, queer and non-binary, gender fluid, and all this kind of stuff. And that's what Leslie loves. I mean, look at her interviews. How many times in a 1-minute interview, that clip we played weeks ago, whenever it was, does Leslie Headland refer to her queerness or her being a queer person or growing up as a queer child and all this? I mean, probably a half a dozen times, literally in less than 60 seconds. Yeah. I mean, it's the obsessive nature. This is what defines me, which I don't understand. I mean, somebody's like, well, you have a problem with somebody saying they're a gay Star Wars fan? No, but what does that matter? I don't go around saying, well, I'm a straight Star Wars fan. You know, it's
the issue, the funny thing is like they should put as much of the blame on the media who loves to tee up these questions that they then get caught in these sound bites for, right? Yeah. So the famous one that was going on, or the famous quote that was going around earlier this week and last week was the one from the interview where she said it's the gayest Star Wars ever. But that question was teed up to you by an interviewer. And I'm like, do these interviewers just secretly hate these people? Because they can't actually believe that any of this is good press for them. And to her problem as well is that she could have sidestepped that and tried to fix that question with a more neutral answer, but they can't help themselves. They have to lean into it. So it really is a media that doesn't know how to actually ask questions that the public cares about, and showrunners and professionals who don't know how to get around it and give an interview that speaks to everyone. So again, like I said before, the media is just as bad as the creatives themselves when it comes to the mainstream press.
This is so good. Maybe normalizing the human body in Star Wars is long overdue. Do commercials about sanitary products make you uncomfortable? Too bad. There's a sequence in the Acolyte's 3rd episode coming out Tuesday night this week, folks, about 48 hours from right now, that implies that space witches getting their periods is a formative experience for the women and girls within the coven. It's metaphorical and meaningful and moving. Plus,
no, it isn't. No, it isn't.
But to them, this is their words. This is the kind of detail that helps ground the Acolyte in relatable experiences.
It's not supposed to be grounded.
Thank you.
It's space opera.
Yeah.
Why not show people go into the bathroom?
Thank you. Thank you, Ron. Yes,
Why
exactly.
Why not show people dealing with toe fungus? Relatable, grounded. No, that's not why you go to the movies.
Make sure you're subscribed to Valiant Renegade and join us every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern for the live show.